The first time I told my husband, Ethan, that I wanted a divorce, he smiled gently and asked me to wait until our son finished middle school. I convinced myself he was thinking about our child's well-being, so I stayed. Years later, when I asked again, he gave me another condition. Please wait until Noah graduates from high school. Once more, I buried my feelings and kept living a life that no longer felt like mine. Now Noah had completed his final entrance exams for university, and I asked for a divorce for the third time. Ethan still refused. To everyone around us, I looked unreasonable. Friends insisted we had spent nearly 20 years together and that ending the marriage now made no sense. They admired Ethan's successful career and calm personality. Some even joked that I should feel lucky to have a husband who still looked younger than his age. The hardest words came from my own son. Mom, Noah sighed. Why can't you let the past go? Claire has never been part of Dad's life for years. He didn't understand. Some wounds never disappear simply because time passes. They remain hidden beneath the surface, hurting every day. I had finally accepted that Ethan would never remove that pain from my heart. The only way to heal was to remove myself from his life instead. When I started packing my clothes, Noah blocked the bedroom door. If you leave, Dad, I won't go to college. I calmly folded another sweater into my suitcase. You're an adult now, I answered. If you throw away your future, that's your decision, not mine. For the first time, my words left him speechless. Desperate, Noah called his father. Dad, come home. Mom is really leaving. Within half an hour, Ethan rushed through the front door. His usually composed expression carried a trace of panic as he walked into our bedroom. Emily, he said softly, please stop this. I looked at him without emotion. I'm not making a scene. I'm leaving because I can't stay here anymore. He stepped closer as though nothing serious had happened. Are you still upset about Noah's name? That single sentence reopened a wound nearly 20 years old. Our son's name sounded painfully similar to Claire, the woman Ethan had loved long before meeting me. When we first met, he seemed like the perfect man. We married quickly, built a beautiful home, and welcomed our son into the world. I believed I had found happiness. Everything changed during Noah's first birthday party. Several of Ethan's childhood friends drank far too much. One of them laughed loudly and blurted out, "So you really named your son after Claire? I guess you never stopped loving her." The room instantly fell silent. His friends tried to laugh it off, but Ethan, drunk and careless, only stared into his glass. I never forgot her, he admitted quietly. Those words shattered everything I believed about my marriage. The next morning he apologized for drinking too much, but insisted the past no longer mattered. It's only a name, he told me. But it was never just a name. It was a reminder that another woman had always occupied the place in his heart where I had hoped to belong. I begged Ethan to change Noah's name, hoping it would erase at least one painful reminder. Instead, he refused without hesitation. When I visited the government office to file the paperwork myself, I discovered he had already made it impossible for me to change our son's name alone. That was when I first asked for a divorce. Ethan remained calm. Noah is too young. Wait until he finishes middle school. When I insisted, his expression hardened. You may not care about this marriage, Emily, but your parents certainly care about their partnership with my company. He knew exactly where to strike. My parents' business depended on his family's corporation. If our marriage ended badly, they could lose everything they had spent decades building. So I stayed. As the years passed, I convinced myself that perhaps Ethan had learned to love me. Maybe the past had finally become the past. I was wrong. Everything in our life, the perfect family photos, our anniversary dinners, even the image of our happy marriage, felt like a performance. Deep inside, he still wanted Claire to believe he was living a wonderful life without her. Every smile seemed directed towards someone who wasn't even there. When he suddenly offered to change Noah's name after nearly 20 years, I realized something surprising. I didn't want that victory anymore. It had arrived far too late to matter. Before I could answer Ethan, Noah interrupted. I'm not changing my name, he declared. I like it exactly as it is. Then he looked at me with open frustration. You've always been jealous of Claire. You threw away every gift she ever gave us. You're the one creating problems. His words felt sharper than any knife. Without warning, Ethan slapped him across the face. Watch how you speak to your mother. But Noah only glared back. I just said what you've always believed. Mom is bitter, and everyone knows it. This time I raised my own hand. The sound of the slap echoed through the room. Tears filled Noah's eyes as he stumbled toward the hallway. I'm going to Claire's house. I don't want to stay here anymore. The front door slammed behind him. Silence settled over the house. Ethan rubbed his forehead. He's just upset. Don't take his words seriously. I laughed quietly. He's 18 now. Those weren't childish words. He believes them because someone spent years teaching him. I looked directly into Ethan's eyes. Do you really think I never noticed where the two of you went every weekend? Every time you came home smelling of citrus cologne, trying to hide Claire's lavender perfume. His face lost every trace of color. The secret he believed was perfectly hidden had never been hidden from me at all. I discovered the truth 3 years before Noah graduated. His grades had begun to slip, and Ethan suggested hiring a private physics tutor. Noah agreed surprisingly quickly, never missing a single lesson. I thought he had finally become serious about school. One afternoon, Ethan was busy with work, so I offered to drive Noah myself. His reaction was immediate. First, he complained about stomach pain. Then he insisted he had a terrible headache. He searched for every possible excuse to avoid getting into my car. Something felt wrong. The following week, I quietly followed Ethan's car after they left the house. Instead of stopping at a tutoring center, they pulled into the driveway of a beautiful countryside villa surrounded by blooming lavender fields. Noah jumped out smiling brighter than I had seen in months. Claire, we're here. A graceful woman opened the door and welcomed him with a warm embrace. I made your favorite dinner, she said with a gentle smile. Ethan walked behind him carrying an expensive designer shopping bag. You spoil him too much, he joked as he handed her the gift. The three of them laughed together like a family that had shared years of memories. I sat inside my car, gripping the steering wheel until my hands hurt. I could have stormed inside and demanded answers. Instead, I drove away. I refused to become the angry wife screaming on another woman's doorstep. That evening, I waited alone in the dark until they finally returned home. After Noah went upstairs, I placed several photographs on the coffee table. Ethan froze the moment he saw them. I thought our son was attending physics lessons, I said quietly. Since when does his tutor live in a lavender estate? For a moment, he couldn't answer. Finally, he forced out a weak explanation. Claire was always good at science. She wanted to help Noah improve. I almost laughed. I checked her university records. She studied fine arts, Ethan. She has never taught physics. That night, our marriage collapsed beneath years of lies. I demanded a divorce for the second time. Once again, Ethan knew exactly how to stop me. Noah is preparing for university entrance exams, he pleaded. Please wait until he's finished. Don't destroy his future. I looked at my son sleeping upstairs and surrendered one final time. But nothing changed. Their secret visits continued. Whenever Ethan and Noah returned home, they covered Claire's familiar lavender perfume with heavy citrus cologne, believing I would never notice. At first, every visit broke my heart. Eventually, the pain became something quieter. I stopped arguing, stopped crying, stopped hoping. Instead, I counted the days until Noah became an adult. While everyone believed I had accepted my life, I was preparing for the day I would finally walk away without asking anyone's permission. I closed my suitcase with a quiet click. The sound made Ethan flinch. Emily, he whispered, we've been married for almost 20 years. I looked at the man who had shared my home, my table, and my family name, yet had never truly shared his heart. I was married for 20 years, I replied. You spent those years waiting for someone else. For the first time, he had no answer. He reached for the suitcase, refusing to let go. What about Noah? It was the same question he had used for years. Our son had always been the chain keeping me in this house. First it was middle school, then high school, then entrance exams. There was always another reason to postpone my freedom. Our son is 18 now, I said. You taught him to make his own choices. Now he can live with them. He tightened his grip. I can't let you leave. Without another word, I unlocked my phone and showed him the screen. The divorce petition had already been filed. My savings had been transferred into my own account. Copies of every important document were stored safely. My lawyer had photographs from Claire's villa, records of the blocked name change, proof of the business threats, and every message connected to the marriage. Ethan stared at the screen in disbelief. You planned all of this? Yes, I answered calmly. I stopped asking for permission a long time ago. Slowly, his hand slipped away from the suitcase. For the first time in 20 years, nothing stood between me and the front door. I carried my suitcase outside without looking back. The cold evening air felt lighter than anything I had breathed in years. Before driving away, I sent Noah one final message. Asterisk, you are an adult now. I won't stop loving you, but I won't support someone who treats me without respect. If you continue your education, the money I saved for your tuition will always be there. If you choose to throw your future away to punish me, that decision belongs to you. Asterisk. A few hours later, I learned what had happened after Noah ran to Claire's house. He arrived convinced she would welcome him with open arms forever. At first she comforted him, made him tea, and asked what had happened. But when he said he wanted to stay with her permanently, her smile slowly disappeared. This isn't appropriate, she said gently. You should let your father take you home. Noah stared at her in confusion. For years she had called him family. She had accepted his visits, his affection, and every expensive gift Ethan brought to her home. Yet the moment real responsibility appeared at her doorstep, she stepped back. My message reached Noah while he sat silently holding a cup of untouched tea. He read it again and again. Claire never offered to pay for his education. She never told him he could live there. Instead, she quietly called Ethan to come and collect him. That single phone call shattered the perfect fantasy he had believed since childhood. By the next morning, Ethan had called me more than 20 times. I ignored every call. Soon, messages from relatives and mutual friends began filling my phone. Asterisk, don't make such a huge mistake. Asterisk. Asterisk, you've built a life together. Why throw it away now? Asterisk. Asterisk, a marriage can't be perfect. Learn to forgive. Asterisk. I deleted most of them without replying. Then I called my parents. My mother answered first, her voice filled with concern. Emily, are you all right? I left him. Silence. A moment later my father took the phone. Where are you? I'm safe. Come home. Before I agreed, I told them everything I had hidden for nearly 20 years. The name, Claire, the secret visits, the fake tutoring, the threats involving their business, and every time Ethan had convinced me to stay. When I finished, neither of them spoke for several seconds. Finally, my father sighed. We thought we were protecting our company. So did I admitted. His voice became firm. No business is worth our daughter's happiness. If we had known the truth, we would have stood beside you years ago. For the first time in decades, I cried, not because of heartbreak, but because I no longer had to carry the burden alone. People often asked why I had waited so long before ending my marriage. The answer was simple. I wasn't waiting because I lacked courage. I was waiting because every path forward seemed to demand a sacrifice. My son's future, my parents' livelihood, or the stability everyone expected me to preserve. Once those chains disappeared, so did my hesitation. During the 2 years before Noah's graduation, I quietly rebuilt my life. I found legal advice, organized my finances, secured copies of every important record, and prepared a place where I could begin again. Leaving wasn't an impulsive decision. It was the result of countless silent nights and years of careful planning. Months later, the divorce was finalized. Ethan apologized more than once, but some apologies arrive after hope has already died. Noah eventually contacted me as well. He admitted that reality had been very different from the fantasy he had imagined. Trust could not be repaired overnight, but for the first time, he was willing to listen instead of judge. As for me, I no longer measured my life by the years I had lost. I measured it by the peace I had finally found. For 20 years I had lived inside someone else's unfinished love story. Now, at last, I was writing my own.